The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 4, Language. It addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to identify and explain the meanings of words and use them correctly in a range of texts. Learners should be able to distinguish between commonly confused homophones and homonyms and use them with growing accuracy in texts.
Hi, I'm Megan. Spell check has made us lazy. We type something on a computer, push spell check, and the computer tells us all the words are correct. But are they really? In today's lesson, we are going to take a look at words that are often confused. Let's begin by looking at this paragraph. I practice playing the guitar most days except Sundays. Sometimes it is quite boring, but my teacher's advice is to keep it up or I will lose my touch. According to Spellcheck, this paragraph is error-free, but is it? Although every word on that page was spelled correctly, there were actually quite a few errors. How many were you able to spot? Hopefully, by the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to find and correct all of the errors, and also maybe you'll have less faith in Spellcheck. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to differentiate between some words that are often confused. Let's return to the opening paragraph. Can you spot the first mistake? The first mistake is practice. The word practice can be used either as a noun or a verb, but in each case it is spelled differently. Practice with a C is a noun and practice with an S is a verb. In sentences, you'd use them like this. Practice is important if you want to master a musical instrument. In this case, practice is an activity. Because it is a noun, it is spelt with a C. In the next sentence, practice is used as a verb. I must practice my guitar. Here, practicing the guitar is something that I must do. As it's a verb, it's spelt with an S. By the way, in American English, no distinction is made between practice as a noun and practice as a verb, and both forms are spelt with a C. So look out for this if you're using an American English dictionary or if your computer is set to use an American English spell check. In the paragraph that we looked at earlier, that spell check said was perfect, there was another mistake where a noun and verb form of a word had been confused. Did you spot it? Let's have another look. Noun-verb confusion also occurs over here. Here it says the teacher gives advice. Has this word been used correctly? Once again, the word advise, which is a verb, is spelled differently from the word advice, which is a noun. Here are some sentences to help you remember the difference. Your advice is important to me. I don't know what to advise you to do. In the first instance, advice is a thing, a noun. Note how it's spelt with a C. In the second sentence, it is used as a verb. Note that it's spelt with an S. Well, believe it or not, we still haven't found all the mistakes. Have another look at the paragraph and see if you can spot any more errors. What about this bit here? Except Sunday. What is the problem here? Here are two words that are often confused. Accept and accept. Do you know the difference between these words? Accept means to receive, and accept means not including. Clearly, these words don't mean the same thing. Here is a sentence that uses both of these words correctly. Everyone was there to accept their award except him. It's a good idea to keep a list of these confusing pairs of words to ensure that you use the one you intend to in your writing. In today's lesson, there's only time to look at a few of these confusing pairs, but there are plenty. Have another look at the paragraph and see if you can spot another mistake. Quiet is the next mistake. How can something be quiet boring? Obviously, what was meant was that practicing the guitar over and over can be quite boring. Let's look at the difference between these words. Quiet means silent and quite means fairly. Let's look at a sentence using both words. It was quite quiet when my speakers broke. There's one final mistake in the paragraph. Did you spot it? Yes, that's it. Loose has been used incorrectly. There's a difference between loose, as in baggy, and losing or misplacing something. Here are the different spellings. Loose means not tight, and lose means to misplace or not win. Here are both of these words used in a single sentence. My pants are so loose that if I put my wallet in my pocket, I am sure to lose it. So that whole paragraph went through spell check, and spell check said that there were no errors, but we've been able to find 5 mistakes. That's 5 mistakes too many. Be sure to learn these pairs of confusing words to make sure that you don't confuse them in your own writing. Also, be wary of spell check. Spell check picks up words that have been misspelt, but it won't detect words that have been used incorrectly. Let's revise the confusing pairs that we've learnt. Practice should have been practice. Accept should have been accept. Quiet should have been quite. Advise should have been advice. And loose should have been lose. The pairs of words that we've just looked at are often confused because their spellings are so similar. But now we're going to look at some pairs of words that are spelled completely differently but are still often confused. What's wrong with this sentence? May I lend your pencil? Well, the person of whom you are making this request may well ask, well, who do you want to lend it to? This is because the word lend has been used instead of the word borrow. Let's clear up this confusion. Instead, the request should have been, may I borrow your pencil? And the correct answer would be, I'll gladly lend it to you. Here's another common error. What's wrong with this sentence? I must have misplaced his number. The problem is the word of. Of is not a verb, it's a preposition. Instead, this sentence needs a verb. I must have misplaced his number. The reason why this mistake is so common is that many people don't speak clearly. So instead of saying, I should have gone earlier, they may say what sounds like, I should have gone earlier. So remember, you say, I should have and not should of. I could have and not could of. And finally, I would have and not would of. This brings us to the next pair of words, should and would. In both of the sentences that I'm going to show you, the words have been used correctly, but in each case, the meaning is different. Can you work out what this first sentence means? I would have taken a lotto ticket. This implies that you would have been willing to take a ticket if you thought you stood a chance of winning. Now imagine if you played the same lotto numbers every week, and then one week when you didn't play, your lucky numbers came up. What would you say then? I should have taken a lotto ticket. This means that you regret not taking a ticket. You now realize that you should have taken a ticket because now you would be rich. So from these examples, we can see that the words should and would mean slightly different things. Should indicates that you ought to do something. Would indicates that you are willing to do something. From today's lesson, we've learned a number of important lessons about vocabulary. First of all, it's important to learn not only how to spell words, but how they should be used correctly in sentences. Secondly, we've also been made aware of confusing pairs of words. If we're aware of these pairs of words, we won't confuse them when writing or editing our work. Now it's time for today's task. For today's task, look at the following sentences. Identify which words have been used incorrectly and replace them with the correct word. The council has decided that in order for people to be eligible to vote, they must live in the town. This is to ensure that the rights of local residents are considered. There are 4 words that have been used incorrectly in this sentence, so I suggest that you copy this sentence down to give yourself more time to find and correct the errors. Well, good luck with spotting those errors. Once again, my computer's spell check tells me that the paragraph is error-free. But if we've learned anything from today's lesson, it's that we should never completely trust the computer's spell check. Goodbye.